probably good to go ahead and start.
Okay. We will get going.
Cool.
So we know this is Jacob. I'm Carrie. Tell me your name.
Mia.
Mia, nice to meet you.
Teresa.
This is Teresa. So we are from the Career Center, and you're going to get a very customized workshop today, you and Jacob. Okay. Yeah. But we're also recording. So I do know that Jacob, you mentioned that you were in the Find Your Fit class with
Jared Meitler.
With Jared Meitler, who is another member of the Career Center. Mia, have you had a chance to visit the Career Center or use Handshake or anything like that?
Yeah, I have. I've been to the Career Center before, and I think I have a Handshake account.
Good.
I just don't manage it as much.
It's all right. That's all right. That's all right. We're gonna share with you a few little tips, and whether you use them now or if you use them in the future, that will be just fine. We're glad to hear that you're even just kind of dabbling in it. That is great. Jacob, you shared you are a social science major and journalism minor. And Mia, what's your major?
Majoring in entrepreneurship and minoring in leadership.
Oh, good for you. Leadership studies, one of my favorite areas of the university. So
yeah.
That's definitely a good combo.
Lots of good faculty and people over there too. So, and what year in school are each of you?
So this is my 11th semester.
You're 11th semester. All right, good.
This is my freshman year.
Good. Well, we are glad whether you are in your 11th semester or your first semester. This is when we love to be able to engage with students and just let you know about the Career Center. The Career Center is one of those things that you don't have to use as a student, but we want you to use, and actually your tuition dollars are helping to support the services of the Career Center. And so we do hope that you will use them. And we were asked to primarily talk about resumes. But I thought I would, especially since we are recording, hello, everyone out there and that will be watching us later. We're gonna go through quickly just a little bit about the Career Center, and then we'll hit on some highlights of resumes and so forth as well. We are located in the Bernie Family Welcome Center, and you can come and at one end of the building is the Office of Recruitment and Admissions, and the Career Center is on the end that is closest to Ahern Fieldhouse. And if I can get this to work, there we go. I mean, I'm not going to go in detail through this, but I just thought we'll just talk a little bit about the Career Center, some of our services and resources, that good old Handshake account. I'm just so glad you actually know about Handshake. That's a good thing. And then we'll talk just a little bit about how you can make some connections with employers through the Career Center. And I will kind of go through this portion, and I'll talk about a few highlights of resumes. Teresa, just chime in anywhere as we go through this, and especially when we get to resumes, we'll maybe do a couple little brainstorming kinds of things with you all. As this says, the Career Center facilitates the career readiness of students all across the university. So regardless of what your major is, the Career Center is for you as a student. And these 4 pictures represent the 4 kinds of things that we really try to focus on. We want to help you explore majors and careers, just like you did through Find Your Fit. We want to help you develop your skills, which especially as a freshman, now thinking about how you might gain experience and develop skills and so forth is through campus jobs, leadership studies activities, student organizations, all those kinds of things. Oh, there I am with the tell picture. That is our career closet. If you haven't had a chance to come over and see the career closet, you can get free gently used professional attire that you can use when you are running the traffic control for the radio station or leadership studies. If you're going to be going to a conference or something like that with them, you can come and get attire out of our career closet for free, and you can keep it. And then we're known for a lot of the other kinds of things that we do to try to connect students and employers, and whether that's through our Big All University Career Fair, when Teresa joined us just a month ago as a new member of our team, and she got to start the very first week.
Yes, I did. I just jumped right in there. Jumped in the deep end.
That is right. That is right. Have either of you been to the career fair before?
Yeah, I have.
Did you go this year then?
Yeah.
Oh, good for
nice.
you. What did you think?
We didn't get to go on the first day where they have like all the companies, but we went the next day because I'm a Rise Up Scholar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I learned about Handshake and like the career
Yes,
for
good.
apps.
Yeah.
Um,
Dr. DeLorso.
yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Olivia, yeah.
yeah, that's why I went to the career fair.
Yeah, good. So I think you all were kind of touring around through the career fair. Were you
Yeah.
in a group, and
Yeah.
got to visit with a few employers and yeah, good. Have you had a chance to be out there yet, Jacob?
Unfortunately, I did not have the chance to go to the all university career
Yeah,
fair,
no,
just
that's
because,
okay.
just because of the fact that I was too busy on the day that the all university was.
I understand.
And I didn't have
Yes.
any professional clothing, so.
Yes. Well, now you know about the career closet.
Yes.
So, well, we won't let that stop you. But the other thing is, beyond the big all university career fair, we also have smaller networking events. And a matter of fact, we've been planning in the spring. Teresa's going to be coordinating a couple of those.
Yes.
You're going to be doing
The fashion and hospitality.
Yeah. So, and we also have a media and communications meetup event, which is much smaller than our career fair events. But these are the four things that we try to help, and we try to be available. Of course, now after having kind of experienced the pandemic, we were already online, but we are now even, trying to be even more accessible via. Well, matter of fact, recording this is great because this will mean that people can still get this information even without being here in person. So there's lots of information on our website, and then we're also on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and also have a LinkedIn page as well. We already talked a little bit about the career closet. One of the nice things about the career closet is we also have a student intern that works with us, actually out of Teresa's college in apparel marketing and design. And so if you ever have any questions about what should I wear to this particular function or this particular event, then you can always ask any of our staff, but our student intern that's there as well can also offer very fashionable.
She's a fashionista.
Yes. Another thing, we don't actually do this in the Career Center, but we like to let students know that if you are needing a professional photo for LinkedIn or for other kinds of purposes, we do have a partnership with the photo services that's in Dole Hall. And you can go for free on Fridays. I think it's usually like every other, maybe the first and third Fridays of the month, and get a free professional photo. And I just like showing this because this is an example of, here's the same guy with the same white t-shirt on in several different backgrounds, but look how the lighting is all so different. And so if you're not a journalism person, you don't even think about all these little things. I mean, you may be very tuned into all of those technical things, Jacob, but it makes a big difference. And our main thing with dress and professional photo is that we just want you to be able to put your best foot forward and to feel confident and and help the employer or that other person get to know who you are for your skills and your qualifications, and not be focused on, you know, the perfect look and so forth as well.
Good. I will say the photo I have currently on my LinkedIn, that was taken in my senior year of high school back in 2015.
Jacob,
So
that's right. So we got to get you up there to get a new photo, and it's free. It's free.
My favorite F word.
That is right. And here's a few more F words. We got the focus. Yeah. And I bet, Jacob, that when you were in the, well, there's another Find Your Fit class, focus is the career exploration computer system that we use. And some incoming students also get to take the career decision profile. I don't know if you would have you done that with any of your coursework, Mia?
I think we've done it.
You might have,
But
yeah, I'm not sure either. But another few things to just mention in terms of online resources. The Kansas Micro Internship Program is a new program that was established just in like the last 6 months or so. And that is something that's supported by the Board of Regents that supports all of the public universities in Kansas. And employers get a financial incentive to offer a micro internship, and students can select multiple of these micro internships. And they're more like project based, like just weeks that you might spend on a particular project rather than a whole semester or something like that. There's actually several that are kind of in the media marketing kind of area. And there's information on our website about those, but I think especially where traditional internships kind of got interrupted by the pandemic, this is a nice way to still gain some experience. And we have a K-State student that is like the micro internship queen, because she's done like 6 or 7 micro internships and is really featured by their program. Big Interview is an online system we have that you can use to practice interviewing. And then of course, we've already talked a little bit about Handshake, and I think our next slides kind of talk about, it should be very easy to log in to your account, and that you'll find this landing graphic on our homepage, and you'll use your EID to log into that, put your information in, and then Handshake can be used for all kinds of different purposes. Might be for searching for jobs or internships, and we have both part-time jobs in the community as well as campus jobs. And if you're not, you know, if you're looking for something really specific and you're thinking about kind of dabbling in Handshake, there's actually a way that you can set up a job agent or a search, so that if you have something kind of specific that you're interested in, then you can get emails of those listings based on that, that when you go in and program that. If you want to come in and meet with Teresa or any of our other advisors that meet with students, you would do that through scheduling an appointment through Handshake. And also, if you're interested in interviewing with employers that, you know, are here on campus, there's just a ton of employer information sessions that you can learn about in there. And then also with the career fairs, that's also who you can find out who's coming, or the networking events through that as well. Teresa, anything else you've learned about Handshake as you've joined our
you know, there's so much you can learn about employers and everything on there. There's job opportunities. I mean, there's just so much. So spend a little time. It's worth it. Make sure that your account is ready to go, because it can be actually an asset for you when you're trying to find a job.
Yeah, great. We won't talk about this too much because we're going to delve into resumes a little bit more, but just keep in mind that as you continue to go through your K-State experience, we do have interview rooms. And so especially since the pandemic, more, do you love that, Willie the Wildcat? Isn't that
Not
just
even on
fabulous?
Zoom.
I know, I just love that too.
For another mascot.
That's right.
Mhm.
We have 12 interview rooms, and traditionally those have been used by employers to come and interview our Wildcats. However, now since the pandemic, and there's so many more virtual interviewing going on, you as a student can actually schedule and utilize our rooms, probably even more than employers now. And so if you have an opportunity to interview with an employer online, you can schedule a room, and that way you've got a nice professional tech ready with stable internet, and not your, maybe not the Wildcat, but your own personal cat is not going over the keyboard, or a roommate walking through in their robe or whatever. So keep that in mind.
And make an appointment and let us prep you. We'll do mock interviews and just give you a little practice going through that, so that when you have the real thing, you're not that nervous and you feel more prepared.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And then just so you know, we gather information from each year of each class and find out what kinds of jobs or what kinds of graduate school plans they have. And that is then listed on our college to career stats page. And then we also recognize recent graduates and kinds of things they've accepted. And then this helps you with salary negotiation and some of those kinds of things as well. So there is that. Let's delve into the resumes just here a little bit. Maybe first of all, Jacob and Mia, do you have any questions about resumes that you particularly brought? Oh, did I stop? I stopped.
It's okay.
the
You can
sharing.
click OK.
Okay, so not very good at multitasking.
Nope, that's fine.
here.
Click OK. And then down at the bottom of the Zoom, here, can I have the?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, if you can help me, that's great. So do you all have any questions in particular, or?
So I do have my old resume here,
Mhm.
and well, it has been updated since it was like 2017. It would,
2017, oh my goodness.
What, 4 years?
That's, yeah, 4 or 5 years. So it's a good time to, yeah.
yeah, because I no longer work at the dining center. I've gotten I got a job with parking services, with that job at parking services, got a job with the radio station, and I currently have a job with the radio station and with Walk at Watch.
Oh, yeah, good.
So
good.
a lot of things have changed.
Yeah. What about you, Mia?
So I have this resume. It's pretty recent because I had to do it for my Rise Up class. But there's a scholarship going for entrepreneurship, and I really need to strengthen my resume and then work on my cover letter.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, good. Well, and are there particular questions that as you kind of got, I mean, I'm looking at this backwards right here, that I'm thinking this is looking pretty good right now. Are there particular questions that you think you have at this point, or?
I mean, I just want to like see like ways where I can like
strengthen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just kind of we'll just kind of run through some things real quick, and then if you don't mind, do you mind if I kind of
Oh yeah.
refer to some examples from your resume as we go through this? That'll be great. So one of the things I like to I guess to really think about, first of all, is, why are you using this piece of paper? It's really hard, I think, sometimes to think we're trying to put ourselves and everything, about us onto this one single sheet of paper. And I think it's important to just remember that the point of the resume is to get you an interview, and it's then the interview that's going to get you a job. So sometimes that kind of helps to think, okay, I don't have to say everything, because you're going to have that interview experience then, or application to detail more.
If I remember right, Jared said something about the fact that employers only look at a resume for on average of roughly 6 seconds.
It's it's a very short amount of time. And when you actually get an employer that actually looks at your resume with their human eyes. I mean, sometimes there are also, now in a scholarship kind of situation, you're going to have real people that are going to be looking at your resume.
With the applicant tracking system.
Yes, but with applicant tracking systems, with a lot of other companies, this is going to be fed into, into a computer database, and then it's going to be looking for kind of scanning for
Keywords.
particular words and so forth. Yeah. So it's also, I also like to say that a resume is not so much about your past, but it's really about your future. And so what you think about putting on your resume is really about where you see yourself going, and how what you've done is continuing to take you on that direction in terms of your future. So providing evidence, and that's, maybe we can look at me as a resume as we go through here, and think about what are you showing then in terms of some of the evidence of your progression and results. And so inventorying your experience. This is one of the things we were just visiting with one of our other colleagues about, and thinking about how can you sit down and kind of do just an inventory of everything that that you've done, whether it's been paid or unpaid. And sometimes that isn't going to fit immediately onto one page, but you just want to kind of get it all out there, and then you start kind of narrowing it down. So I don't know, Mia, how did you do some brainstorming of what to put on here, or how did you kind of start with deciding what to put on here?
Basically, I based off my information using another template.
Yeah, that's great.
And then I just put my own personal information, like what I've done, and clubs and awards that I've earned.
Good. So Mia's got a nice combination here of, it looks like a lot of work experience that shows you're probably a hard worker and have worked with a lot of people, it looks like to me. And that is probably one of the most challenging things, is working with people.
Yeah.
And so then you've also divided things out into campus involvement, and that's also very important. And you've also got some wonderful skills and honors and awards listed on here as well. So let's look at this next page. And I think this is just one of those things where this is a list of some of the kinds of skills that employers have said that they're interested in. And as we just said, that ability to work in a team and the problem-solving kinds of skills are the kinds of things that employers or a scholarship committee or those other kinds of opportunities are really looking for. And those kinds of examples can come through your coursework, through your student involvement, research, internships and job, and other life experiences that you've had as well. So here's the tough part. How do you know what to include? So I guess, Mia, maybe one of the things we could think about with your situation is, for this scholarship that you are applying for, have you seen what they have said that they are looking for, or what some of the qualifications are?
I don't know. They just put, I can pull it up real quick, but it's for entrepreneurship. So I'm assuming they ask for a resume, a cover letter, and they want me to answer 3 questions in an essay.
Okay. So that would be kind of like a cover letter and a resume, probably in a traditional kind of job sense. And so those answers to those questions are going to be important. And then they're going to also be probably kind of looking for other evidence and experiences then on your resume. So one of the things, I guess this seems really, I don't know, maybe a little too simple, but really just making sure you think about what is it they're looking for, and then try to mirror that as much then in your cover letter and or your resume. So, even sometimes using some of the same terminology. as I think about, entrepreneurship, as you're learning about entrepreneurship, what are some of the things that are important in that field?
Basically, we're visionaries. We're like innovative, creative. We have to, out of a product, we have to find the background story and we have to know the people that we want to sell the product to in order to sell the product and make profits.
Great. Yes. Good for you. That's a great way to summarize that very quickly. Do you think that you have shown ways on your resume that you have done some of those kinds of things?
Yeah, I feel like, yeah.
Okay. So let's look at, good. So here's a good example. You have got journeys at the Legends outlet, and you said meet and exceed my personal goals and the store's sales goal, maintain the store's appearance and organization, and engage with customers in a friendly manner. You also said something about, you said in entrepreneurship, innovation and creativity and some of those kinds of things are.
Yeah, so specifically for journeys, we have to not only sell shoes, but we have to build a sale. So how we build a sale is like by adding on socks or like any product. And it was also my job to build that sale and find ways to convince the customer to buy said product.
So isn't that's like upselling or something like that?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Or there's
Yeah.
I think you're
remember
right.
that. Yeah.
Because basically the more, it's like, I forgot the word. It's commission based. So the more they spend, the more is on my commission.
Good. So did you put anything about that in here?
No, but now that I'm talking to you about it, you guys, I realize I should.
Yes, no, that's great. And that's actually a really great example of, that's what we love for students to come in and sit down and talk with advisors like Teresa. Yeah, and that you sometimes when you start saying these things out loud, then you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I should put that on my resume. But I think that's a great example of, especially, gosh, entrepreneurship and thinking about being able to work on commission. There's a lot of really similar, kinds of experiences, and you have to be very self-motivated and so forth. So I think that would be an excellent thing to add to that. So I think, thank you. You've done a nice job of just showing why this is important, that as you think about what is that, what am I going for and what's important and how can I show what I have done that is similar. You can also talk with other people that are familiar and know that kind of industry or those kinds of organizations as well. And Teresa, do you have any tips for, you are like one of the best networking people I know of.
That's my
So.
But sometimes it's not about what you know, it's about who you know that can open up an opportunity for you. But also shadowing. See if you can go in and get an idea of what's the daily functions like in there, because you may have one idea of what the job is from the outside looking in, and it could be nothing like what the daily tasks actually involve. And so that's something that I really suggest to people. If you can have an opportunity to just get an inside view, that's gonna, I'm telling you, it'll save you some heartache too, because it's nothing like going into a job with one expectation and then getting into the job and having to totally reset what you thought you were going to be doing there. Yeah. We both had a similar workplace in our, it was not what I thought it was going to be when I got in there. When I got there, I was just like, how do I go? How do I go? Like, I just didn't know what to do. So you don't want to get yourself in a situation, because I tell people all the time, you can always make more money, but you have a finite amount of time. And what you don't want to do is waste time that you can't get it back. So do your research. It's really important, because the more you know about that company, the more you know how to sell yourself as the answer to whatever their problem is. So that's always going to be in your best interest. Research. Get all the information you can about them.
That's great. Great. So here are some of the other key tips and kind of insider secrets, I guess you would say, about the resume. I think I said maybe as we were kind of gathering that fortunately you all are not engineers. And sometimes when I go and we talk with engineers, I always like to say, okay, just remember resumes are an art. They are not a science. And sometimes we're looking for, you know, what are the answers? And, you know, me, I think that's even with your resume, you're going to probably get a lot of different opinions and a lot of different input. And you should actually, you know, especially from people that are in the field that you're networking with. And if an entrepreneur ever says something that, you know, is opposite of what I'm saying, you probably should follow them because they're in the field and they know that field certainly better than kind of a general career advisor.
Yeah.
It's hard.
But
Find a subject matter
it's
expert.
hard. Yes, find a subject matter expert. Now, I will also say that the kind of advice that we share out of the Career Center is very well founded. We listen to lots of employers and we're going to give you good, sound advice. So for things like, you know, the number of pages, generally speaking, an employer expects a current student or a new graduate to have a one-page resume. Now, Mia's got a good start here so that by the time she's a senior, she may be squishing on here a lot of stuff. So it may be better by the time you're a senior, Mia, you may have to have a 2-page resume, but you've also kind of got to go through the process of making sure that everything you've got on here is relevant and specific to that particular job and those future experiences. Because employers don't really want to see a page and a half. If there's a half a page, you can probably get it onto that 1 page. They also don't want it squished all together so they can't read it. And so certainly you don't want to go to smaller than a 10-point font because it just gets too hard to read. And you're probably at what, about a 10 or 11-point font?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I don't know.
so I think that's a good looking font, and I think you're doing good there. Use of color. This is another one of those things that there's really not specifically right and wrong answers. You can see that actually this example of Ashley Bailey over here has color, print, and text. Ashley is somebody who was going into more of a creative field. If you're going into accounting, then you're probably not going to have a real creative flair. But you know, you think about entrepreneurs, that is one of those areas that there may be an interest in a little bit more of a creative flair. Both of these examples have used a margin that's probably a little bit less than an inch, and that's fine. Again, as long as you've still got some good white space on there and so forth, that's good. Bullet points. So this is one of the things I do want to talk about a little bit. I actually think that even though this Willie the Wildcat example is in here, I actually think it's kind of one of those what not to do examples, even though it is one of our best ones. But look at all the bullets on this. So bullets are actually meant to draw your eye to something. So if you use bullets over and over again, they kind of lose their impact. And Mia, that's maybe my own one little thing I would say is to look at your resume and think about how you've used bullets in all of these sections. And you may want to take a section where you actually remove some of the bullets. And if you look at some of the examples in our resume guide, you'll see some that, you know, maybe like I think on yours, you could remove them from honors and awards or something like that, because you've got some nice, you're using bold and some other things like that. But do you kind of see what I'm saying in terms of when you use bullets for everything, it loses a little bit of its impact. But I mean, we're getting really picky here, Mia. We're talking about bullets. So, I mean, everything else is looking great there. Date format, I didn't really, yes. So you've kind of followed that same, we usually advise putting your dates on kind of flush right and typing them out so they're not a bunch of numbers and so forth. So I think that's really helpful. And then just using kind of selectively bold and italics and some of those kinds of things. Teresa, what have I forgotten?
Like she said, make sure your spacing is in there. If you have everything too squished together, it makes it hard for an employer to scan really quickly. With the color thing, no matter what they said on Legally Blonde, do not give anybody a pink scented resume, a blue scented resume, any of those things. Please and thank you. I will definitely say that. And no, graphics are really not, like people putting their pictures, those are really things that are kind of fluff for an employer, so you don't need those things.
Yes.
This is your opportunity to kind of brag on yourself. And I know some people are really horrible at bragging on themselves. And so I will tell people, you know, it's not you bragging on yourself, it's you showing confidence about what it is you have to offer an employer. So don't miss an opportunity to do that. Even if you think, you know, familiarity brings contempt. So you might not think that you're doing all that great because this is just what you do every day. But somebody couldn't just walk off the street and just excel at your job. So start thinking about it in those terms. Whenever you can quantify in your bullet points, don't just tell them that you know, I guided some people on trails. No, let them know that you conducted XYZ for X amount of people. Put results. If you save some time, some money, if you improve the process, those are all things you want to have on your resume. Okay?
That is great. That's maybe one of the things you could think about, Mia, is that if you did, you know, with some of your sales positions, if you want to put, I mean, if you know what any of those sales commissions were, you know, if you could add them all up, and if you were able to say that you accumulated $15,000 worth of, you know, commission or something like that, those would be some things you could add there as well. Because I think, again, in an entrepreneurial world, they like seeing those numbers. So being able to add some of that in there.
And good action, those power verbs, you see how these are all starting with created, designed, you know what I'm saying, served, attended. And you don't want to get caught up in a word bubble where you say at every executed. Right. It's just like, okay, what are you killing here? But you know what I'm saying? I want to think about some of those things on your resume, and then think about your wording on your bullets. Don't just say, you know, I put information in the computer. Tell them that you maintained a database for X amount of people over X amount of time with 0 breaches of security, things like that. Those are going to be excellent. It's all about your wording. How did you say that?
I've heard several people say that instead of like your task or like sort of like what you generally did, more of like what was the accomplishment that came out of that.
Yes.
Yes.
I had a person when I worked up on Fort Riley, and they were just like, they had on a resume, maintain the company website. How about you initiated a social media campaign that increased engagement by 25%, something like those lines. So that's how you kind of got to step out and think of what's the effect and what's the benefit of what you're doing.
Excellent. The other thing then on this next page that is really important, and it's just one of those things that I think if you are not a detail person, I am not always a great detail person, that if you aren't able to see some of these kinds of potential errors and grammatical kinds of things, then find that friend that's really good at that. And make sure that they take a look at your resume and review it. Because the good old spell check is not going to catch bachelorette. You know, that's a word, but it's not used in the right context. I also love the last one. I'm a rabid typist. Well, you know.
There's a difference between rabid and rapid.
Yes.
Exactly.
And so I don't care if you can type, if you are the fastest typer in the world, if it's going to be full of errors, that's not going to work well. So,
and then watch your tenses too. Don't go back and forth. Like if you're talking about a previous job, past tense consistently through it, don't switch back and forth. I've seen that a lot too.
yes, great. So proofread, find that friend, do come in and have a critique with our staff. But again, I would just say, find that friend that's going to proofread, because our advisors are going to give you some general tips, but they're not going to find all the errors. I mean, that's just not what their time is for. But find that friend that's going to be able to help you out. Another important thing, thinking about the layout. You want to think about the information at the top and the left is the most important. and you're going to go in what we call reverse chronological order. So Mia, do you have yours in reverse? Yep. Oh, wait, let's see.
I don't think
Oh,
so.
it's pretty. Oh, no, you don't. So there's another quick little thing. So you want to go in reverse chronological order. So you'll go with your more recent first.
Okay.
And so actually that's going to be a strength again for you, because you're going to be leading with leader of Boys and Girls Club, and cashier is going to be then down near the bottom, because you want the most impactful near the top. And one of the things that I like to show, even though you don't have to read this, but this is from an actual eye tracking study that shows you where recruiters will spend more time scanning a resume.
Oh, this
And
is
so-
like the eye, like where the eye
Yes,
is. Okay.
yes, isn't that fascinating? And you can see that it is up at the top and near the left. Now, this has a cultural context to it as well. We're talking about in the English language, we're going to typically read left to right. This is not necessarily true in all cultures, or if you were applying for something else internationally. But, you know, being able to think about that kind of left to right, top to bottom is important to think about. So I think that's kind of neat to be able to kind of show you that. I mean, it really does happen that way. I don't know that we'll have a lot of time to go through all of these in detail. What are we doing as far as
42.
We got 15
Are we
minutes.
doing okay? So
Yeah.
we're doing
Yeah, 18
okay.
minutes.
Yeah.
So let's touch on a few things then in here. And Teresa, help me with this, because I know you've been covering a lot of
I'll do it for the
a
last
lot
year.
of this too. So what do you think? What's important in terms of education?
Like I said, the institution name, your graduation date, your degree. If you have minors and majors, definitely put those on there. If you've traveled, your GPA. If you have a 2.6 GPA, do not put that on your resume.
Yeah,
Please and
no,
thank you. Okay. Yeah, I had, you know, you want to generally put your resume. What they generally will say is 3.5 and above. But if you feel like you know, maybe you have an opportunity where you're kind of looking more at your experience and maybe the classes versus necessarily the GPA. But I'm just a big believer that if this is below 3.5, I'm not putting it on there. So that's just a me thing. Put relevant coursework. If you have specific stuff that is tailored towards that industry, then you can highlight some of those. If you've got extra certificates for stuff, like say they got conflict resolution. I have done a lot of advocacy. And so I have got so much like de-escalation and active listening and all that kind of training that's not necessarily going to be valuable for every employer, but working in a situation like now, I work with students, being able to build rapport with a lot of different personality types. Those are things that are going to be kind of universally appealing to certain employers. So, yeah.
One thing I do, I have a master resume. It's like 6 pages long.
Yep.
And so I keep that one. So it was depending on, I love this job, so I think I'm stuck right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it was depending on what job I was applying for. And that's what I would tailor the resume and pull from that master resume.
That is a great idea.
And one thing that I will also say is please do not just have one cookie cutter resume that you're giving everyone. Every time that you put an a resume across an employer's desk, it needs to be a resume that you meant for that employer. So plan on editing and tweaking each time you get ready to get that resume out, okay?
Great. Question about the high school. You know, that is sometimes really challenging. And, you know, Mia, for you as a freshman right now, still, did you put your high school on here? So it looks like you chose not to put your high school on there, and that's fine. But I was going to say our general rule is that I think, you know, including your high school on there through maybe about your sophomore year. Is that what I was hoping that was still our kind of our general rule. So you could put especially if you were really involved in high school and so forth, you may want to list that. The other reason you might want to list your high school is if it actually, you know, it's in a geographic location where you actually hope to either return or be located. That can also be helpful past, you know, your sophomore year. But you are going to start slowly kind of letting those high school things fall off. As I love this idea of a Felicio, with a master resume that you kind of keep everything, but you just then have a finished version where you've, left some things off, but still have a record of it. So I think that's another great idea. Writing those bullet points, I think, Teresa, you already mentioned several of these kinds of things, starting with that action verb, being specific to the position, quantifying as much as possible. And this is where you don't actually have to write everything in, in the full sentences. You're really doing these kind of statements. And
they know that it's about you because it's your resume. So you don't have to say, I did,
yeah,
I did. You're good.
Yeah. So here's some examples of some good ones. I was thinking even in terms of your Boys and Girls Club experience, Mia, you may want to say, oh my gosh, I mean, if you can corral, I don't know what age kids you've worked with.
I work with 6th graders and 7th graders.
I mean, anybody that can survive through 6th graders is.
I'm gonna say this. All of my kids were such jerks when they were 11 and 12. So
it's a terrible age.
I got an almost 10-year-old jerk at home.
I'm telling you, every now and then you just like, who raised you? And I'm like, oh, that was me. My bad. Yeah. I don't know. Just say
that time is just very challenging. So especially if you're working with like 15 6th graders, or something like that.
Yes.
That's really great to be able to put on there. So yeah. So you can add a few of those things. And then here's some other examples. We'll kind of skip over some of these, but again, you're seeing some numbers and you're starting with those, leading with those action verbs and some of those kinds of things as well. Then other possible sections. I mean, I think this is really, each of you, everyone is going to should have a unique resume because no one is all the same. And so there's a whole combination of these that may be appropriate for you telling your particular story. So, think about these, some of these other kinds of things. And I think, Mia, you've got a nice example of education, work experience, campus involvement, honors and awards, and then skills as well. Some of your skills, I don't know, what are we advising now on kind of objectives, skills summary?
The objective statement is not always necessary unless you feel like it's going to help like funnel you to a specific person in that company. Instead, they have like one person who's like the head of HR, but maybe they have department head that's trying to hire. That's when those would be helpful. The thing that we said about the skills is that it's better to put those skills into a bullet statement versus just having a list of them. If you can connect those to something specific that you've done in your experience, it's better to do that than just the white noise, the list of skills.
Okay. So you may be able to work some of those, yeah. And
think about what you did to use that and then put it into your bullet point.
Yeah. And then some of these kind of like what not to include. I mean, I think these are the kinds of things that we don't want to be evaluated on these kinds of things. We want you all to be evaluated and selected for an interview based on the skills and accomplishments and those kinds of things. So you do not need to list these kinds of things. However, there are things related to some of these life experiences and identities that you may still share through student organizations that you're involved with, and you have to kind of decide what is, how you can best reflect who you are and what you're comfortable with in terms of sharing some of that as well. I think, again, that's why it's great to come in and sit down with an advisor and say, I don't know if I'm comfortable with sharing that I'm in the STEM out group, and how else would I maybe kind of describe that. So there's lots of different kinds of places that people can be. But generally speaking, I think as Teresa also said, generally speaking, photographs and other kinds of things are really not a good idea on a traditional resume, because sometimes employers will actually screen those out because that is not what they are accepting. And so they don't even want to go there with a particular photograph. However, keep it professional. However, I do know many employers that, you know, thinking about the LinkedIn, picture and photo, that we have some employers now that they will look at the resume, and instead of reading the cover letter, I had an employer just tell me earlier this semester, they go right to LinkedIn and then find out about who you are.
A lot of employers are definitely looking at your social media because they want to find out before you get there if you're going to be like a hot mess. So I tell people all the time, clean up your social media.
Or make it private.
Or make it private. Seriously.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Because I've seen people lose opportunities because an employer went and found something that they did not like that was a red flag for them. And then all of your information should be professional. Please check those email addresses. If you have an email address that's your personal thing that you've been using, but it's not professional, you do not want that to go across an employer's desk. So make a new email. Seriously, make a new email just for your professional use, and then make sure that you're being consistent with making sure that people have that for their contact information.
I am so glad you mentioned that, Teresa, because that was usually one of my favorite things of mentioning. And I completely forgot about that. But yes, we sometimes come up with really clever, cute emails.
You're not sexy this, you're not hot this.
Oh, yeah.
So when I worked up on posts, I would get people coming through my employment class on the regular with just hot mama, stuff in your muffin. Like this guy can stuff in your muffin. That was it. Okay. So the most unprofessional email that I ever came across up at Fort Riley. And it was a song lyric from, and I was like, sir, never again.
No.
His email address.
Like groceries.
Was eat the booty, like groceries, _69@gmail.com. A grown individual had that on their resume, and I was just like, I thought I was getting punked for a minute. I kept waiting for Ashton Kutcher to come in the room with his little trucker hat and be like, you've been punked or something. He was so serious. You guys, it might be funny, but it will not be funny if that goes across an employer's desk and they just toss your resume into the trash pile.
Right into the shredder.
Right into the shredder. I just don't want that to be.
Unfortunately, that is what's.
It'll make you giggle in your personal time, but it will make you unemployed on the professional side, is what I'm saying.
And unfortunately, it's that story that gets told later that you don't want that story to be told later.
Can you not be the person that I'm talking about to other people? I'm just saying.
So I have a Yahoo email that Jacob_Cummings@yahoo.com. I have my Gmail, jcb.cummings, and then I have my iCloud that I've never given out to anyone. It's jcb.cummings@icloud.com.
Okay.
So
so you probably just using your K-State email is the best way to go.
Because I get notifications on that constantly.
Yes.
But
so,
since I've never given out my iCloud email, I'd get, it would come through pretty quickly and it would be uncluttered.
Yeah, well, yeah, you'll have to make that decision, but yeah. So I just like to kind of put this in there that, this resume is all about your why. What is it? Where can you find that sweet spot that overlaps of what you love to do, that the world, your community, your city, your community needs that you can offer. You're good at it, and we're all good at, there's things that we are good at. If you can't think of what those are, then you need to ask your friends and your family and those people that know professors and say, and be reminded of those things. And then, and what can you be paid for out of all of those kinds of things? And sometimes we're gonna, be a little off on some of these areas, but
I gave you guys, I got an example of a good email or good resume and a questionable quality resume.
Yeah.
And y'all can see where the stuff is not quite coming off as professional on one of those. And some
email.
You saw that crazy cowboy crazy. Cowboy crazy. I say.
Teresa, do you also mind? There's a couple of other handouts I
Oh,
had
yes, that's
there
right,
that
you have.
I brought all kinds of things with me.
Oh, awesome.
There's also a handout about Job Scan, which is one of those tools that's out there that if you want kind of an analysis of your resume, and Mia, you might even be interested in trying that. With the Job Scan, you can find it online, and there are 5 free scans for you to utilize. You can also come in and meet with an advisor who can show you how that works, but it will take what it is that you're applying to, and then it will analyze your resume and see how well you've reflected that. And then I also brought just a quick checklist for your LinkedIn job search and profile, and maybe that would be helpful for you to have as well. So you have done so well to sit here and listen to us go on, and especially me to go on and on. But hopefully these are some of the kinds of things that can be helpful to you as you continue to move forward. And just keep in mind that this friendly group of people wants to be able to help you, and our advisors are available to meet by college. And Mia, you're in business, so you also have the college career coaches.
Yeah.
And then also can still take advantage of a lot of the career center kinds of things as well. And then
I'm an A&S.
Jacob, you're in arts and sciences, and we're actually in the process of hiring the advisor that's going to be working with that college. But you can go to our website in terms of making appointments, and the 10-minute tune-ups are also really nice. They're virtual, quick appointments that can be made. And the studio is our new drop-in. And so you don't have to have an appointment. It's on the 2nd floor. And our peer career specialists are available to also do a resume critique, talk about job search, cover letters, some of those kinds of things as well. So.
Oh, is that Jared?
Yes, do you know Jared?
Yeah, he's my professor for my cat community.
Oh my
Are you
gosh,
finding
so
the
you're
fit?
also
Yeah.
in, oh my goodness, I did not know that. Well then, you're also learning a lot of great things from Jared and that too. I'm so glad you're in that class. That's great.
So when you see Jared next, tell him Jacob Cummings says hi.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. That is
Nice.
great.
Gonna be at the
Yes.
changing majors thing with us too.
Okay.
Cool.
Too late for you, but.
Any other questions?
I'm good.
You're good? All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you, Mia.
And I'll definitely be coming by
Coming
for
by.
resume
Yeah,
critique.
good, Jacob.
Well,
All
do
right.
you like to-
I'm gonna
I was
type
gonna
this
say,
out.
here,
This is
take this
recorded,
with you before
but
you
this is
leave.
the stuff
Take
that
a